Hey guys, Buffaque here again. This is going to be kind of a part 2 to my 2018 knife collection video. These are the knives that, for whatever reason, nowadays I really don't carry as much. This is not to say that they're not good knives or they don't have their place, but they're just knives that, for various reasons, I don't find myself using much nowadays or carrying very much. There are a couple you've seen before, a couple that already have kind of roles in a specific system, but right now they are just kind of hanging out, waiting for waiting for a job. And I thought you might find this video kind of interesting. These are just kind of some of my B stock or lesser used knives. All right, so starting off, this is the CRKT Squid. Okay, this is the Lucas Burnley design. This is a great knife, real solid lockup. One of the knives that basically just, as I started getting more into knives and started buying other things, this one kind of fell out of favor with me. It's a frame lock, and I'm really not crazy about frame locks. That's part of the reason why I don't really carry that one much anymore. After that, another CRKT. This is the M16. The 01S series. This is the smaller one. I like this little knife. I really like the slimness of this knife. Again, it is a frame lock, which is probably my least favorite locking mechanism. But quick little flipper deployment system on this knife. Smooth action. Okay, not sure what steel this is. It still has a decent edge, not great. Actually, I take that back. It's got a pretty poor edge, but I have had this for quite a while. It's seen a little bit of use. Definitely needs a resharpening, but neat little option there, the CRKT M16 01S. After that, here's a couple that I know you have seen before. This is the SOG Flash I. This is a knife that, after reading reviews and looking at some videos online, I thought I would really like. And basically, once I got a hold of it, I was kind of let down with its it's just overall quality. A lot of wobble in the blade. And it just, I don't know, it's all right. It's not a terrible pocket knife, but I think you could probably do a little bit better, especially for the price. This was not a cheap knife, just because, SOG is supposed to be not they don't make any junk, but I don't know, this one just didn't really meet some of the expectations I had for it. So there's the Flash I. Over here is the Twitch II. Now, comparing this to the Flash I, I feel this is a much better knife. Better construction, better components, whereas this is mostly, it's plastic grips. This is a more sturdy, this is kind of a faux wood grip, but feels to me a lot better in the hand. Blade lockup is excellent. I like this knife a lot more. Okay, centering, you can see it's not great. It's actually pretty poor. But comparing the two, this has the flipper deployment system as well. I'd rather carry the Twitch II than the Flash I, but that's just me. After that, here's the SOG Mini Aegis. I like this knife quite a bit more than the previous two. It's a little bit bigger, of course, but it's nice and slim, very lightweight. Again, centering with SOG is just not great. I don't know if that's just because these are the design, the quality, the material they use for the grips. I'm not sure why they can't seem to get good blade centering on their what I'll call their cheaper knives, because there are some knife manufacturers out there who have a cheaper line of knives who have great centering. Reference the Spyderco Bird series. Sorry, I couldn't think of the Bird series. Cheaper knives, but good centering. Okay, sharp blade on this though. Really good edge retention on the Mini Aegis. Here's kind of more of an example of what I'm talking about with some of these knives that are cheaper. This is just a little cheap NRA commemorative knife. Have no clue what the steel is. Doesn't even say. Just kind of a junky little beater knife. Got this for renewing a membership with NRA a few years back. Knives like this, you can sort of get a quick one-handed flip open deployment if you really work at it, but it's not great. Anyway, just kind of a cheap little beater knife there. Going on after that, a couple of buck knives for you. This is the Buck Mini Bantam. as well as the full-size Bantam. For the money, they're pretty good knives. They're very cheap, really cheap. I mean, like, I think this was maybe $10. But it does have a pretty good edge on it. It's pretty darn sharp. These are again, the Bantam series. This is the Mini Bantam in kind of a Cryptek finish. Kind of like the look of that finish. Kind of a neat looking grip on that. But not terrible knives. This is, you know, something that you could purchase and, you know, leave it in your car, in your glove box, wherever, and not really have to think about it much beyond that. You can kind of just forget about them. Kind of cheap little knives. Here are a couple of Schrades. This first one was kind of the knife that it didn't start things for me. That was the Endura 4, but this was one of the knives that kind of got me to realize how many options there are out there in the world of knives. It's a Schrade. I don't remember the model number of this one, but I kind of liked, for one thing, I liked the zombie green grips on it. I thought those were neat. Kind of a neat design. It feels good in the hand. Got a good purchase on it. It's AUS-8 steel, so you could do a lot worse. Not the best, but you could do worse. Liner lock, not a frame lock, so I like that. It's got a lock on it, you know, so you don't accidentally deploy it. I'm not crazy about that. Could probably super glue that open, so don't fool with it. But it is assisted with the flipper, so it's got a really quick deployment, and I like that about it from the very beginning. I mean, this thing comes out just really wickedly fast, and I like that a lot. The Schrade Extreme Survival series, this knife has an interesting little story. I'll make it as quick as I can for you. I accidentally took this knife into the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. Basically, I forgot I had it in my pocket and got up to the checkpoint there within the National Archives building, and by the time I got up to the checkpoint, I realized I had it in my pocket, and instead of trying to get out of line and looking a little bit suspicious and trying to just get out the door, I basically just tried to play it cool. I took it out of my pocket, put it in a little tray with my other things, wallet, keys, phone, all that stuff, slid it through, and the lady stopped it when it went through the machine, the x-ray machine, and I thought, well, I've probably just lost that knife. She took it out and was kind of, I could tell she was kind of trying to figure it out, and I told her, I said, it is a small automatic. I said, you just press the button and the blade will pop out pretty quick. And she did that right there. She deployed the blade, and to my amazement, a huge grin came across her face, and she said, that's pretty cool. And I was really relieved. I said, yeah, I like that little knife. I said, I'll be honest with you, I forgot I had it in my pocket. I didn't intend to bring that with me today. And so she had another one of the officers walk over to her, and she said, hey, is this okay? And he just kind of eyeballed it. They didn't measure it or anything like that. He just kind of eyeballed it and said, yeah, make sure it stays in your pocket. He said, don't have it out at all. But he said, yeah, you're okay to carry that on through. So thought that was really nice of those two people there. You know, obviously, you know, this is not, you know, you're not going to be jeopardizing our national security with this little tiny little, you know, 2-inch or even less than 2-inch blade. Just a handy little thing to have with kind of a funny little story with it. Beyond that, Victorinox Money Clip, not a big deal. We've all seen those. Here's a neat CRKT. This is the Quill, CRKT Quill. This is one of the Steigerwalt designs. I really like, if I can get it focused for you there we are. I really liked this knife. It's got the dyed black bone handles. To me, this was kind of a knife that, you know, if you're going somewhere and you're kind of dressed up and you want to carry something on you that doesn't look quite as tactical or so obvious, this is a nice little option. You know, kind of an elegant looking little blade for you to have. The biggest problem I have with this is the quality of steel, and this is another one that I'm not exactly sure, it's printed on it, but I can't really see it, what quality the steel is, but it lost its edge pretty quick, and I really didn't use it much at all. As far as edge retention, whatever steel this is not great. It lost its edge pretty fast, so it definitely needs a pass on the sharpener, but kind of a good looking little knife. That's the CRKT Quill. I like that little knife. After that, Buck Solo. I think this is the Solo. Either the Solo or the Classic. I think it's the Buck Solo. Just neat little traditional, you know, but these little slip joints, you know, they're grandpa knives or or gentleman's knives, whatever you want to call them. I will say this one came with a wickedly sharp edge, like surprisingly sharp. Really like the edge on that little tiny, I mean, that thing is, you know, it's like the size of your pinky, you know, tiny little knife. What else? Here's another little, one of the little toothpick style knives. This knife was actually carried by my great uncle, who was actually on the Bataan Death March. Now, he didn't carry this with him when he was in the military, but after he got out, he obviously survived the Bataan Death March. Did an interview, which sometime I'll see if I can get that for you guys. A couple minutes of his interview he did with, I believe it was with History Channel. But survived the Bataan Death March, and this was just a little knife that when he got back home, he lived in California. When he got back home, he carried this knife on him quite a bit. So this is kind of an interesting little knife just because of its history of the owner. After that, here's another one you've seen. This is Spyderco Roadie. Already did a video on this little knife, like that little guy, neat little knife. A couple multi-tools here. We've got the Leatherman Squirt, as well as the Leatherman Style CS. Like both of these, I definitely prefer the Squirt over the Style because the Squirt gives you pliers, whereas the Style just gives you scissors. To me, this is basically the same as carrying a Victorinox Classic. The only difference is you have a bottle opener on this, which to me is not a big deal. But the Leatherman Squirt, I like this little multi-tool. Carry this guy quite a bit. Kind of have stopped doing that so much lately. But if you're going to carry a multi-tool, this is about as small as you want to, well, as small as you can go, and still have quality components. Getting towards the end here, you know, here I have, I'm not going to show you all, but here's just a collection of kind of three of you know, what a lot of us have grown up seeing with our fathers or grandfathers or uncles or whoever. Just these kind of traditional slip joint, you know, multi-blade knives. I've really never carried knives like these, just basically because once you've been spoiled with a knife that you can open and close with one hand, you really don't want to carry knives like these, just because, I mean, you're spoiled. You know what all is out there now, and you know, it's kind of like, what's the point? But I've got several of these laying around. You know, they are what they are. If it's a really just awful, messy, dirty, old task that I really don't want to use even like one of my cheaper knives here for, I might use one of those, but for the most part, they just kind of sit around. The last one I have for you, and this is kind of an interesting knife. This is I'll tell you right out, this is a knockoff. This is not a Microtech. Sort of looks like a Microtech, but it is not. It is an automatic OTF. This is an interesting little knife. It's a copy, and I can't even remember the name of the company I bought this from at a gun show. They're probably not even around anymore. Basically, they bought these. I'm pretty sure they're Chinese-made knockoffs. They bought them and put their own little design on the clip, which I took the clip off. You can unscrew the glass breaker there. You unscrew this and a little pocket clip comes on. You can put a pocket clip on it. But they put their own company's logo on that little clip and tried to sell these as, you know, their own design. And no, that was baloney. I knew as soon as I saw it, that's a copy of the Microtech. Basically, I bought one because I'm never going to buy a Microtech, or I don't really plan on ever buying a Microtech. I literally just bought this because it's kind of fun. It's fun to just sit there and play with the blade. If you've never messed with one of these, pick one up sometime. This one, I bought this, I think this was maybe $30. 30, maybe, I don't think I would have even paid $40. I think it was maybe $30, which was a huge red flag that, no, obviously this is not a quality anything. I would never use this for a defensive weapon. I wouldn't use this for anything. I literally just have it because it's kind of fun to sit around and mess with the blade. Yes, I mean, it does have a very sharp tip. The edges of the blade are not sharp at all. I can run my fingers over them, that's not sharp at all. But it does have a sharp tip. Yes, if you were to try to if you try to use it in a self-defense role, it probably would hurt someone badly. But I don't, you know, I just bought it just because I thought it's kind of funny, and you know, why not? 30 bucks, a cheap copy of a Microtech. There it is. So anyway, there's my collection, guys, of knives that I really don't carry much. I don't really use them much nowadays, but thought you might be interested in seeing some of them. Pretty wide variety in options. So let me know what you think. I'll try and list all of these in the description. Let me know if you have experience with any of these, what you think about them, as well as if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you next time.